Hey, welcome to the station where we talk trains, truth, and life. In this episode, we're at Ailsa Craig, Ontario. Let's find out the impact the railway had on this small little village. Today, we're stopping in the historic village of Ailsa Craig, a small Ontario community with a big railway story. To understand Ailsa Craig, you have to understand the railroad. In fact, the very founding of the village is closely tied to the arrival of the railway. The section of the Grand Trunk Railway between St. Mary's and Point Edward was constructed in 1858, and it was completed in 1859. Almost immediately, local landowners David Craig and William Shipley recognized the opportunity that the railroad would bring. So they laid out the community beside the new rail line, and what began as Craig Station soon became the village we know today as Ailsa Craig. David Craig even donated land for the railway station on the condition that the stop be named after his settlement. The railroad was not simply passing through. It was the reason the community developed where it did. The station was located on the Grand Trunk main line that linked communities across southwestern Ontario, and it connected the region with larger markets to the east and to the west. The tracks ran through the heart of the growing village, making the station one of the busiest locations in town. Every day, passenger trains brought travelers, mail, newspapers, and supplies. Freight trains carried agricultural products from the surrounding countryside. Farmers depended on the railway to move cattle and grain and lumber, flax, and other products to the markets across Ontario and beyond. By the 1870s, Ailsa Craig had become one of the most important agricultural trade centers in the region. Historical records indicate that it was the largest cattle market west of London, and some accounts suggest it eventually became one of the largest cattle shipment points in Canada. The railroad made that possible. Imagine standing beside the station platform in the early days. Steam locomotives would arrive in clouds of smoke. Livestock would be loaded into stock cars. Freight wagons lined up near the station. The arrival of a train was an event that brought activity and excitement to the entire community. The railroad transformed Ailsa Craig from a small rural settlement into a thriving commercial center. One of the most impressive pieces of railway engineering near Ailsa Craig was the bridge that carried the Grand Trunk Railway across the Ausable River Valley. The Ausable River has long been a defining feature of the landscape. As the river flows south toward Ailsa Craig, it makes a broad sweep through the valley before continuing westward toward Lake Huron. Building a railway through this terrain required substantial bridges and earthworks. Near Ailsa Craig, trains crossed the Ausable River on a steel railway bridge that became a familiar landmark for generations of residents. The bridge carried the Grand Trunk Railway, and later Canadian National Railway, over the river and the valley below. For decades, steam locomotives and later diesel trains crossed this structure carrying passengers and freight through the community. The sight of a train crossing over the river became one of the most iconic images of railway life in the area. Although railway operations eventually declined and the line was abandoned, the bridge remained as a reminder of the era when rail transportation connected rural Ontario communities to the rest of the country. Today, the bridge stands as one of the most significant surviving pieces of railway infrastructure associated with the historic Grand Trunk Line through the region. When you look at the bridge today, it is more than steel and rivets. It represents the determination of those who built railways through forests, rivers, and valleys to connect communities like Ailsa Craig to a growing nation. The Donald Hughes Annex Museum, managed by the North Middlesex Historical Society, is housed at the former Baptist Church located at 159 George Street. The museum preserves the rich history of the community through fascinating exhibits, artifacts, photographs, and family stories that bring the village's past to life. Another special feature is the model railroad in HO scale that provides a recreation, or to a certain degree, of the village and the surrounding area. The museum is an excellent place to learn more about the early settlers, the local businesses, agricultural heritage, and the railroad that helped build Ailsa Craig. If you're a history enthusiast, you'll want to set aside some time to explore its collection. While Ailsa Craig is known for its history, the community also has a connection to Canadian motorsports. For many years, legendary NASCAR driver Earl Ross called Ailsa Craig home. Ross made Canadian racing history in 1974 when he became the first, and for decades the only, Canadian to win a NASCAR Cup Series race and earning Rookie of the Year honors in the same season. His remarkable achievements secured his place in the Canadian Motorsports Hall of Fame, and his legacy continues to inspire Canadians and Canadian racers to this day. From steam locomotives to stock cars, Ailsa Craig has produced stories that have reached far beyond this quiet Ontario village. It's another reminder that even the smallest communities can leave an unforgettable mark on Canadian history. Today, Ailsa Craig remains a welcoming and proud community with deep historical roots. While the steam engines are gone, the spirit of the town remains strong. Visitors today can still experience the charm of rural Ontario through its quiet streets, local businesses, historic atmosphere, and strong sense of community. Although many of the original railway operations have disappeared, their impact remains woven into the identity of towns like Ailsa Craig. The railroad helped shape where people settled, how businesses grew, and how communities connected. Tracks may disappear, stations may fade, but the story remains. And every small town along Ontario's railway line still carries echoes of that remarkable era. You know, railroads were built to connect places and people together. And in many ways, life is about connection too. Communities grow stronger when people come together, when they help one another, and journey through life side by side. Every town has a story. Every station mattered. Without the railroad, there may never have been an Ailsa Craig as we know it today. The village was literally born because the railway, grew because of the railway, and still carries the legacy of the railway more than 165 years later. Hey, if you've enjoyed today's journey through Ontario railway history, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the video. And let me know in the comments, have you visited Ailsa Craig? Do you remember trains passing through town? Or is there another railway community you'd like us to feature next? Until next time, welcome to the station.